Hello, you good people.
Hello.
Friends. Lovers. Thank you for joining us. This is 5 Minutes with Robert and Amy Nasir.
Yeah, I think that we may have some video
Video
issues.
trouble? Well, let's take a look here. Let's see. What are you doing to me? Video?
Oh, there we are.
Huh.
Oh, now
How
you
very
have to...
strange. I do a couple tweaks here. Hello, you good people, and thank you for joining us. This is 5 Minutes with Robert and Amy Nasir, and you in the chat, my favorite part of the show. So please, by all means, join us in the chat. If you can do it either way, do it on YouTube, but Facebook Live is fine too. You know, we're working on those numbers on YouTube. So if you're watching on YouTube, hook us up. Click like, even before you've decided if you like the show, because you're gonna like the show. Today is November 13th, 2022. It's almost Thanksgiving, or it's post-Thanksgiving, depending on how you look at it. We'll talk about that. But this is the 317th day, 317th day of 2022. You have 48 days left in this, your best year yet. If it's not your best year yet, you've got 48 days to make that happen. 42 days until Christmas. And according to my calendar, 11 days until Thanksgiving. I hope you've got something good planned for Thanksgiving. If you were in Southeast Michigan last night, you were probably here. We did GLOW, Great Lakes Objectivists, Thanksgiving night. I want to give a huge shout out to the 15 people who were here filling up our little eating area. It was a great night. It was a very, very good night. We'll share a bit of that with you.
Yes, I would love to talk about last night. And,
yes.
And Great Lakes Objectivists is my baby. It's, yeah, I love to have get-togethers and dinner parties and talk about interesting things.
It's a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm.
But real quick, because today is November 13th, happy birthday to the belated Garry Marshall. I love Garry Marshall as a filmmaker. He was also an actor as well. He did appear in some of the films. He started out, as the producer writing, or excuse me, not as the producer, as the writer for The Lucy Show. Later I Love Lucy and The Dick Van Dyke Show. And then he developed Neil Simon's play The Odd Couple for television. The Odd Couple, it's one of those series we should look up. It might be as good to watch now as it was way back when. Tony Randall and Krugman. Gained fame for creating Happy Days. Laverne and Shirley, that's fun. That's fun because, of course, Laverne was his sister. Penny Marshall played Laverne in Laverne and Shirley, and then later Mork and Mindy. Also known for directing Overboard, a fun film with Goldie Hawn. Beaches, which I've never seen.
But, I don't think I have either.
But we always do The Wind Beneath My... Well, you always do The Wind Beneath My Wings when we karaoke. So at some point we should see the movie. 1990, of course, Pretty Woman, one of my favorite movies. Runaway Bride, family films like The Princess Diaries. So a great... Garry Marshall's one of those people where once you've seen a few of his films, and assuming you enjoy them, you can then look up other films and say, oh yeah, I like that. I like his style. I like his benevolence. I like his comedy. I like some of the actors that he would regularly bring in. He eventually developed a core of people who he worked with, character actors like Hector Elizondo. Good stuff. Also, a happy birthday to Ayaan Hirsi Ali, the human rights activist and author and host of the Ayaan Hirsi Ali podcast. Downright heroic woman.
Yeah, I got an email from her just today, to me especially.
To you especially.
Well, yeah, it's her birthday today, and she just wanted to talk about all the things that they've done in the 15 years that they've had.
Oh, right.
AHA Foundation.
The AHA, Ayaan Hirsi Ali Foundation.
Yep. They've...
Has that really been 15 years?
So it says when she founded the foundation, only 19 states had banned female genital mutilation, FGM. That number has more than doubled. Now 40 states ban this abhorrent practice. They've helped pass 34 bills against FGM, child marriage, and domestic violence in 21 states.
Outstanding.
So that's awesome.
Downright heroic. If you don't know who Ayaan Hirsi Ali is, she was made famous as a critic of Islam who escaped a situation of child marriage and Muslim oppression, and she became part of the Danish House of Parliament, and then as she spoke out against Islam, she eventually faced oppression there for being, well, hate speech and all that. Eventually came to the United States and founded the AHA Foundation. She also works at the Hoover Institution at Stanford, the American Enterprise Institute. Amazing woman. She wrote a book on her story that is well worth reading. And happy birthday to Ayaan Hirsi Ali. I've got to make sure I'm on her mailing list because I should have received that email. Yeah, 15 years, hard to believe. Well, she did turn 52 today. Also, happy Sadie Hawkins Day.
Who was Sadie Hawkins, Robert?
Sadie Hawkins Day came from the comic strip Lil Abner.
Oh.
It's funny because, it's such a phenomenon now that it's hard to believe even that it was something in a comic strip, almost 100 years ago, I think in the 1930s. And now it's a thing. And the whole idea was, well, we're going to have a day when the girls ask the boys to dance. The girls ask the boys out.
Well,
It's
I've
Sadie
always
Hawkins
done that
Day.
myself, actually.
I've got to say, some of the great romances in my life came from women who didn't wait for the boy to ask them out.
No reason to wait.
There is no reason to wait. So a happy Sadie Hawkins Day to all of you out there. And if any of you girls are kind of sitting on your hands thinking, gee, I hope he asks me out, I get it. It's very romantic to be asked. But don't let that stop you.
Right.
It is Sadie Hawkins Day. Also, it's International Tongue Twister Day.
Well, you mean like, for instance, Betty Botter bought some butter, but she said the butter's bitter. If I put it in my batter, it will make my batter bitter. But a bit of better butter will make my batter better. So 'twas better Betty Botter bought a bit of better butter.
Right. That's right. Or Peter Piper, without pretension to precocity or profundness, puts pen to paper to produce these puzzling pages purposely to please the palates of pretty, prattling playfellows, proudly presuming that with proper penetration it will probably, and perhaps positively, prove a particularly pleasant and profitable path to prosper, plain and precise pronunciation. That was published in 1836. Believe it or not, Peter Piper Picked a Peck of Pickled Peppers was a book that was published, again, almost 200 years ago. So it is International Tongue Twister Day. Now, of course, these are easy because they're all plosives, if you know sound. They're the things that drive sound people crazy. I hope that didn't sound too bad. We have a plosive filter on our studio mic here. Although you don't have one on yours over there, so... But Amy is the best. Amy is the best with tongue. Maybe you can give us a couple more of these.
I would say a short and sweet one is very difficult.
Yes.
Especially if you shorten it even more, and I'll give you that example. I wish to wash my Irish... See, okay, now I can't even see it. I wish to wash my Irish wristwatch. So just say wristwatch 10 times and you're going to be stumped.
That's true. You're big on the 10 times fast kind of thing.
Yes,
and those often trip me up. But Amy really is the best. Greg in the chat says the sixth sick sheep's sixth. Sheep's sick.
Yeah, there's some...
That's a good one.
Interesting
That is
ones
a
here.
good one. Yeah, by all means, feel free to bring them on. Jim Ashley says, could you say that better, Amy? He wants to hear that one again. But Amy's got more. She's got more of them.
So we have this. Okay, try to follow this.
Okay, I couldn't follow this one. I was reading this one without trying to say it out loud, and I couldn't follow it. But what is it?
If you must cross a coarse cross cow, across a crowded cow crossing, cross the cross course cow, across the crowded cow crossing, carefully.
I get it now. Now that you read it like that, it actually does make sense. So I hope you're all, because I'm sure you were all aware of this, I hope you're enjoying international, not just national, it's International Tongue Twister Day. Well, English is the universal language, although we'll be finding out soon enough whether that's true in Japan.
How about send toast to 10 tenths... Sorry, start again. Okay, now I'm totally completely flustered
You need
by this
toast.
one. Send toast
Send
to
toast.
10 tense stout saints, 10 tall tents.
Send toast to 10 tense stout saints, 10 tall tents. It's easier after hearing her do it.
Thither. You know, I heard the word thither recently.
Zither?
Thither.
Sither.
No,
Oh, thither. Come thither.
Come thither.
Come thither on my lap.
I was actually reading. There's a really good. Well, I mean, it's a pretty good biography so far of Cornelius Vanderbilt. It's called "The First Tycoon," and the epic life of Cornelius Vanderbilt by T.J. Stiles.
Are you enjoying that?
I am.
Good.
Actually, and I just want to thank my pal Sean Albert for recommending that to me. So.
Excellent. Felix Muller has been reading the biography of Rockefeller.
Yeah.
And he's making the point that other people have made to me before, which is you've got to read biographies of great men if you want to do a little bit of what they do, because how they achieve what they achieve is not obvious and not even necessarily straightforward. We can identify the virtues and success strategies, but to actually see how that looks in real life, it's pretty hard to beat a good biography. And also, Robin in the chat says, a skunk sat on a stump. And thunk, the stump stunk. But the stump thunk, the skunk stunk.
And Robin says, when you read red as read instead of red, so you have to read it again. I think I got that right.
Yes,
let me know if that's right.
It's funny because I use text to voice a lot, especially on my Apple devices. I'll have it read things. But of course, it doesn't read things, it read things. So even when it is read read, it ends up reading it read. So I can appreciate that one. Finally, it is also National Hug a Musician Day. Well, yeah, bring this on here. Because we are both musicians.
Yes.
And you know, I love the idea, and I've talked about this, of fans and fandom. Being a fan, being a fanatic for a value, for somebody out there that you enjoy, who gives you music, who gives you the feelings, the admiration, the inspiration. So I love the idea of National Hug a Musician Day. Oh, wait, I missed that Jim Ashley, the writer Jim Ashley, says, Moses supposes his toeses are roses. His toeses. And look down at my toeses here. But Moses supposes amiss. For Moses, he knows his toeses aren't roses, as Moses supposes his toeses is. That one is more a poem than a tongue twister, although it's a little of both.
I like that.
That is good. I like that. That makes me happy down to my toeses. So definitely, if you know a musician, hug him. If you are a musician, demand the hugs that you so richly deserve. And I love that. I love the idea of musician appreciation. I still remember. If you're watching the video, you'll be able to see this. If not, you'll just have to, take word for it here. Whoop, mouse is misbehaving, so we go to the trackpad. There we go. There's National Hug a Musician Day there. Although that wasn't a hug, and I still have no idea who that was.
We need to know who this mystery woman is.
If you were
randomly kissed Robert.
Yeah, if you were at Robert's 5th annual rock and roll picnic, the open jam that I do annually, at least if there aren't, viral pandemics going around stopping me, then yes, if this was you, please let us know, because I've been wondering, was that really a complete stranger? It sure seemed to have been. I don't usually get kisses from complete strangers. I have no problem with that, though, because it is National Hug a Musician Day.
Oh, that was fun.
And with that said, what are we listening to this week? Well, I mentioned last week, because it was on the list, but something we hadn't watched yet, but we're going to. We did watch Enola Holmes 2, the sequel to the film Enola Holmes, which we have recommended before. And the verdict on Enola Holmes 2, what do you think?
It's good.
It's good.
It's maybe not as good as the first one. Usually, that's the case, but it was good.
They were pretty close. I enjoyed the first one a little more. Amy enjoyed the second one a little more, and that tells you they're both worth watching. So definitely recommend that. I did 2 shows during the week, and they were heavy-duty, powerful, substantive. Oh, wait, I'm talking about myself. That's rude. They were pretty good. No, I'm not into the false modesty thing.
They were pretty heavy.
No, the Wednesday show with James Valliant, it's funny because we were doing shows from Leonard Peikoff on gender, sexuality, and especially transgenderism. And so I jokingly, in the discussion beforehand, we didn't have a title for it yet, said, well, you are what you is. Now, the musicians out there, and maybe a bunch of the rest of you as well, will know that that's the title of a Frank Zappa song and the lyric of a Frank Zappa, you are what you is. They ended up making that the show title. So you can find it by searching for You Are What You Is, or you can just go to the show notes, which incidentally are already posted as the description on YouTube. I'll add them to Facebook afterward, because you can only do it afterward on Facebook. But You Are What You Is was a good discussion. I received some compliments, and from some people for whom it's an important topic. And that's good, because usually the people for whom it's an important topic are the ones most critical of how those of us, for example, who aren't part of the transgender community and who tend to be kind of cis, which to me is a really strange abbreviation for people who aren't of a non-default gender or sexual preference. Because, when I was a kid, we had a word you're not allowed to say anymore. If they thought you weren't the standard, they would call you a sissy. Well, now I'm cis, so I don't know.
Yeah, what's that from?
I saw an explanation of it once, and I immediately forgot what it was, because it was, I don't know.
It's the Latin meaning on this side.
On this side, as opposed to trans, which would be the other side. Okay, well, I guess that makes sense. And when it comes to language, anything that clarifies things further, I'm all for it. Point is, I thought it was a good show. Some of the people I might have expected to be critical of it thought it was a good show. If you get a chance to watch it, you might think it's a good show too. Now, the being present controversy. Yes. Reading Unsigned 32-bit says, just got in, don't know who the stranger was. What stranger? Have we been talking about a stranger? Everything we say is stranger. We'll have to try to figure out what that was, or you can watch the beginning later after the fact. Hell, you could listen to it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and everywhere you receive syndicated content.
He's talking about the Madcap Kisser.
The Madcap Kisser,
Yes.
Yes, and he was there, so if you didn't know who it was either, it's obviously not part of our... It would be bad if it was somebody in our circle of friends and I simply did not recognize her. That would be a bad thing. I used to have that problem when I was an IT technician because I had 400 users that I took care of. And some of these people I might see, once every 5 years when there was an issue with their computer or they were getting a new machine. And I would see them and they would say, "Hi, Robert, how are you doing?" And I would say, "Hi, you."
Hi, special person of the day.
I've remembered most of my users.
Yeah.
Depending on where you work, they call them customers or clients. I'm a computer guy. They're users. Great people. Couldn't always remember everybody's name. So, fortunately...
put in the chat how if you have a special strategy to handle that situation when you come across somebody you don't know their name, what do you say? Do you say... I forgot your name. Tell me your name again so I can say hi to you.
Yeah, I would never do that. I would just smile and say, "I'm doing great. How are you doing today?" Yeah, same enthusiasm, leave the awkward part out.
I don't know. There are some clever ways to do it, and I'm forgetting what they are. But
Now, I do know a list of ways, and you could look these up on the internet, on how to better remember people's names, including Amy. Use their name a lot during the conversation,
That's
Amy.
That's right, Robert.
And... it has helped, but it's still a challenge for me. Some people find this easier than others. I don't know those people's names, but I know they're out there. Yes. So, back to where I was. The topic being present. Now, remember a few weeks ago we did an episode on 5 tips for happiness. My tip number 2 was be present, and I explained what that was. Even had a fun exercise using peripheral awareness to manage your state, your sense of being present, of how you are right now. And got called out, was told that was a woo idea. When on the Thursday show talked a bit about related concepts, well, I finally addressed it and did another show strictly on that one out of the 5 tips on presence and being present. If that interests you, give it a watch. It's in the show notes. I did get a compliment on that, and nobody's called me out for it yet, so that may be a good sign.
What did they say when they complimented you?
What did they say? I don't remember. I'd have to look on the... I don't remember if it was Facebook or Twitter. If I look it up now, it might not have been as complimentary as I remember. No, I remember it was complimentary. So that was good. That was good. Now, there's one more holiday associated with this date, November 13th. And that holiday is... Could be woo. World, not just national, World Kindness Day.
Does that extend to the moon?
No, it is World, not Moon Kindness Day, not Lunar and certainly not Mars, not Elon Musk's Kindness Day. No, this is World Kindness Day. Now, sorry, just looking at the chat here. Jim says, I used to think I was a musician, a singer, but recently I asked a friend who had heard me sing once what he would like me to sing for him sometime. He said, John Cage's 4-minute 33-second, transcribed for voice. I love the transcribed for voice part. That's great. I said, sure, I'll do it, but looking back, I think, let's see more. Come on, Facebook, don't let me down. I think he was trying to tell me something. Very, very clever. And fun. For folks who aren't familiar with that piece of John Cage's music, look it up. You can actually hear it on YouTube, because there are orchestras performing John Cage's 433. It is not unusual for it to be performed. Mm-hmm. And the composer has claimed that the incidental sounds that you inevitably hear while the music is being played are intentionally part of the experience, even though they will be different every time the piece is performed. So look it up, John Cage 433, if you don't already know it. And Jim, I have no doubt that your voice and your skills are up to the task. Don't know if I can pull it off, but I have confidence in you. So yes, it is in fact World Kindness Day. Now, we did an episode on kindness and kindreds.
Yes.
And it was one of my favorite episodes, but I couldn't resist revisiting the topic of kindness because it is World, not lunar, World Kindness Day. On my recent show, on the Thursday show, I mentioned Leonard Peikoff's quote, which we have shared many times before. The first duty of justice is to acknowledge and defend the good. But I just want to read the bit that surrounds that, less than a minute here. And this was during Leonard Peikoff's 8th lecture of his Objectivism, the Philosophy of Ayn Rand series before the book, when he was lecturing on the topic back in the 1970s. In fact, Ayn Rand was around at the time. And Leonard Peikoff said this: "It is, if anything, more important to praise and reward the good than to condemn the evil, to speak up and fight for the men who are right and who represent rational values. Granted, the evil must be fought and condemned, but then brushed aside. What counts in life, and this is the issue, of course, of the potency of virtue, what counts in life is the good. They are the men who create the values life requires. They are the men mankind relies on. They are the men whose virtues and achievements must be acknowledged. Above all, if justice is a virtue, and if life is the standard. So it is important to tell Plato, for instance, that he is wrong. But it is more important that Aristotle hears somebody who recognizes that he is right. It's important that James Taggart not get away with the fraud that he runs Taggart Transcontinental. But it is more important that Reardon find someone who can understand what he is achieving. The first duty of justice is to acknowledge and defend the good. And as I said at the time during that episode, people, by and large, are good. If they weren't, the world would be falling apart. Which I guess if you only ever look at the news and never look outside your front door, it might sound like something that's going on. My gosh, the world is falling apart. Even though by nearly every metric, by nearly every measure, everything is getting better all of the time. So I want to read just a bit of what I said during that episode on kindness and kindreds. Somebody had asked the question, if I encounter somebody who needs help in an emergency, I come across the drowning child in the classic, drowning child in the fountain. Or the example was given of a woman in a grocery store. A woman in a grocery store, and she's holding triplets. And she's got a shopping cart with just one item in it. And you are ahead of her in the grocery store line, in the checkout line. Is it self-sacrifice to let her go ahead of you? And my point was, well, if you don't let her go ahead of you, you don't have to. It's not a moral duty. But if you don't take advantage of that opportunity to practice that little bit of kindness, well, you've just wasted an opportunity. Life has dropped this value in your lap, this chance to do something fun and nice for a person with zero sacrifice on your part. It's the same thing while driving in a way that doesn't endanger other people.
Or giving people a courtesy wave when they let you in.
Yes. Using your turn signal to indicate your lane changes.
Yes.
How many people say, well, I don't indicate my lane changes because then somebody will just try to cut in front of you. I mean, seriously, how often does that happen? I mean, I'm sure it happens, but how often does that really happen? If you live somewhere where that happens all the time, you might consider moving somewhere else because it's turning you into a nasty person. These opportunities for kindness are falling in your lap. The reason why we frown at the man who doesn't give up his seat on the subway for the pregnant woman who's standing isn't because, well, that's your duty and that's what you have to do. It's because he's wasting this opportunity to engage in a simple kindness at virtually no sacrifice to himself. And these opportunities that just fall in our lap, the opportunity to pay somebody a compliment, the opportunity to make somebody's day, the opportunity to cheer somebody up, these are values. These are values that life is handing you on a silver platter. You don't have a duty to take advantage of every one of them. You might be in a hurry to get home to your sick wife or your sick bunny rabbit. And so maybe you're not going to let that woman with the triplets and the one item in the grocery cart in front of you.
Yeah.
You should never do these things out of guilt. You should never do them out of duty. They're optional. They're opportunities. Kindness is in your self-interest. I was going to say kindness is selfish.
It is, however.
Yes.
I've been looking up some quotes on kindness on Google.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them are not great, I'll just say.
See, that's the problem, is when you live in a society in which altruism, not benevolence, not generosity, but self-sacrifice is taken as a moral duty, as a moral ideal, then as soon as I say the word kindness, I get a lot of pushback from people who say, I don't believe in self-sacrifice. Well, I don't believe in self-sacrifice either, because I don't think that's kind. Certainly not kind to yourself, but in the long run, it's not kind to anybody else either.
Exactly. This harkens back to a conversation we had last night at our Great Lakes Objectivist meeting, our Thanksgiving Glow. And we were talking about spiritual values and how, in a way, you think about, Ayn Rand's analogy about the currency of spiritual values, and how when you do trade, when you have something to offer and to trade mutually, in a relationship, a friendship, whether you're talking to each other or you're experiencing something with each other, you're bonding with each other, you're getting to know each other and like each other, there's a spiritual trade of values going on. It may not be completely explicit. It may not actually be noticeable to either party until later, when they think back on it. But there is a certain kind of currency of spiritual values at play. And we were talking about that. And so, when we talk about making sure that you're not sacrificing. So when you have an opportunity to do something where you have a moment to actually, open the door for somebody with a stroller or, whatever it is, and you meet their eyes, you look at them, they look at you, and you smile at each other, and they say thank you, and you say you're welcome. It's a spiritual trade. It only takes a moment. There is no self-sacrifice involved. There's actually values going on here. And that's the thing I think that some people might have confusion about within objectivism and the morality of Ayn Rand, is that she explicitly talks about the currency of spiritual values, especially in Atlas Shrugged, and she also talks in terms of it negatively, in terms of like the blank check or account overdrawn.
Oh yeah.
The kind of things, kind of characters in there who are villains, who have nothing to offer. And so it's a confusion sometimes for people to say, well, as long as you don't sacrifice. But you have to turn this into a positive for yourself if you really want to understand the meaning of it and the value of it, that there is a spiritual trade going on there. And it's really important to take that into consideration and to say, yes, I did have that interesting exchange when somebody finally let me in to the zipper line, because there was construction on this road, and you gave them a courtesy wave back, and just even something as simple like that, or or just being aware of the people around you and simple things that you can help them with that don't take any time, but it's fun. It can be very, very fun to engage with another person, a stranger, and have an experience with them. It's a wonderful thing to do.
It is creation ex nihilo. Miracles out of nowhere, to steal a song title from Kansas. I should start a band called Canvas.
There's a tongue twister on that.
Really? It's an International Tongue Twister Day, so there you go. I'm being a little hyperbolic because you can't get something for nothing. We don't believe in creation ex nihilo. And yet, when you pay somebody a compliment, when you flash somebody a smile, the cost is trivial. It's virtually nothing. It takes some intention on your part. So in theory, it takes this tiny bit of psychic energy. The reason why you don't feel it is because it gives you much more than what you're giving. But the fun thing is you can do this. You can create these values out of virtually nothing. You can compliment somebody on the way that they're dressed, on their appearance, or on something clever that they said, or anything about what they're doing being, saying, depending on the context. And small favors that you do for people, like letting a harried mother go in front of you in line. These are values that you spin out of nothing or out of almost nothing. Kindness is selfish. It's in your self-interest. It's an instance of you create the world you want to live in. And for that reason, I love it. You said we talked last night. One of the things we talked about last night was the need for justice to not be self-sacrificial. So
yes.
you've heard me steal the political slogan that we are not the world's policeman. Well, I, as an individual, I am not the world's policeman. So, for example, when somebody has done me wrong, there are times when I have had to exact justice. Make sure I get back what was stolen, or get paid back whatever money was missing, or let other people know this person is not to be trusted. But there are other times in which the just thing to do is for me to simply walk away. You think, well, that's not fair. They didn't get punished. Well, sometimes punishing somebody is a sacrifice on your part. If you have to give up important things in your life because somebody did you wrong, they disappointed you, they let you down, they broke up with you, and if you have to carry the burden of that, if you have to be the policeman who spends hours and days to make sure that that person knows they didn't get away with it, at some point that becomes a sacrifice on your part. I always say the biggest punishment that I have exacted upon people who've done me wrong is that I walked away from them. What greater punishment than that can there be than they no longer get me in their life? Sometimes that's all it takes. Sometimes that's all it should take. It's in your interest to be just. And sometimes that means you've got to speak out, and sometimes it means you've got to take action. But justice should never be self-sacrifice.
Yeah. And, I should also say that there, within the conventional view of kindness, there's a quote from Princess Diana. And I know, she did a lot of good, and she represented a lot of good things, except for the absolution of the monarchy. But other than that, no, she was, I would say she was, pretty much an explicit altruist, especially with this quote, carrying out a random act of kindness with no expectation of reward, safe in the knowledge that one day someone might do the same for you. I don't really want to receive an act of kindness and then just completely blow somebody off and not even say thank you. But that whole idea of that finger shaking, don't expect reward when you do something nice. A reward can, it doesn't need to, people don't need to pay you money or, slip you $100 bill. No, they just give them a smile back. Just show that you acknowledge their existence. The idea of helping people out, and a person is so, I don't know, in their own head, or so malevolent perhaps that they can't even acknowledge what you did for them. You think to yourself, well, it's not like you're going to go run up back up to them and say, you know what, you should have thanked me. But if you do see this person again, say they're a coworker, for instance, and you're interacting with them a little bit more than normal, you don't have to, you just know what to expect. They don't have the currency, the spiritual currency to trade with you right now. And it's not necessarily, well, I'm not going to expect reward. Expect reward. Expect a smile. Expect a thank you. But no, if you find a person being unjust, not wanting to engage in that trade, you don't have to trade with them in the
the book that was published in 1982 based on that expression. So I think before Princess Diana's time. It's unfortunate that in a culture in which altruism, self-sacrifice, is considered a moral ideal, you get an expression like that. And the reason I say that is I can imagine a better world. I can imagine a world of healthy self-assertion in which people don't think sacrifice is a good thing. And if somebody came along and said to you, or to me, practice random acts of kindness and senseless acts of beauty.
Yeah, that is the full quote.
That it would be charming and whimsical, not whim worshipping. But in the world as it is today, it's not charming because there are people who take that not metaphorically or in a humorous, whimsical way, but who mean it. So the quote by Princess Diana, for example, takes seriously, well, don't expect anything in return. It'll all come back to you eventually. Again, in a better world, I would interpret that as, well, there is justice in the world. I don't expect this particular person I'm helping out to do something nice back for me, because I know there are so many good people out there doing their honest best to do the best they can. Eventually, it's going to come back to me anyway. In a better world, in some ways, even in this world, I find the idea charming. But you really have to warn people against taking it as altruistic or self-sacrificial.
Yeah, I don't like the word random because...
No, or senseless.
Or senseless, because that...
It's explicit.
You know, if you want to give somebody something, you know, through no sacrifice of your own, make it stylized. Put a piece of yourself out into the world. If you know, do it a different way or whatever it is. Think about it. Actually apply your mind to it. And it's so much better that way.
Yes.
And speaking of applying your mind to something and having it turn out good,
yes.
Very good. There's a wonderful quote by Ayaan Rand.
Oh, good. Give us something better.
The sight of an achievement was the greatest gift a human being could offer to others. And so, yeah, I kind of rephrase that as the sight of an achievement is the greatest gift a human being can offer to others. And it's true. It's true. And I know that there are a lot of other quotes out there, you know, give a man a fish, he eats for a day. Teach a man to fish, he eats, you know, for a lifetime, whatever it is. But that's a little bit different. But this, I mean, just the sight of an achievement. It's like, you know, the young boy on the bicycle overlooking Monadnock Valley and talking with Howard Roark. I mean, that's
Yes.
that is such amazing spiritual fuel. Talk about giving a young person the ability to see the scope of his life more broadly and opening the world up to him is just an immense gift.
It's massive. And again, at no cost to yourself, no sacrifice. It's all good. You know, people have this idea that in order to have pleasure, there needs to be pain. In order to recognize values, there need to be threats. In order to have the good, there also has to be the bad, which has never been true. That has always been a false alternative. There are failure modes on the hedonic treadmill, not being able to appreciate the good because you've never been through tough times. I get that. That's a very real phenomenon. But in the best of cases, yes, you create and you produce, and that ends up being all good for everybody involved. So yeah, obviously I love that sequence from the Fountainhead, the opening of part 4, if you've got a copy in front of you. Excellent, excellent,
yes.
excellent.
Yeah, Jim says in the Facebook chat, he says,
yes.
And
he has two contrasting statements here. He says, kindness can be a source of pleasure, and pleasure is selfish.
Yes.
But then right after that he says, well, there are people I've known to whom I could have said, leave me alone or I'll leave you alone. Yeah, haven't we all been there?
He also did mention that, you know, and giving of yourself is not the same as being selfless. After all, there has to be a self there to give of.
Yes.
Yeah. And this goes back to, I was listening to some TED Talks about kindness and what other people kind of think about it. And there was this one gentleman from Ireland, he mentions it, unfortunately, as a secondary remark. But he says, well, be kind to yourself.
Be kind to yourself.
But honestly, being kind to yourself can be, if you can manage to be kind to yourself, can be a great achievement, depending on what your circumstances are.
Oh, God, yes.
Sometimes it can be very difficult to be kind to yourself.
It's something that many people never learn to achieve. So I always go back to Quint Corder's great quote. He said at one point, I don't remember the exact words, but you don't deserve to be your own harshest critic without also being your own most devoted fan.
Nice.
I think he said one. Yeah.
Yeah.
One doesn't deserve to be one's own harshest critic.
Right.
Unless without also being one's most devoted fan. Or go to Jordan Peterson. Treat yourself like somebody you are responsible for. And it's a great rule of thumb. We realize that a lot of us treat ourselves far more harshly, sometimes only in our own self-talk, than we ever would anybody else, and especially not somebody who we really care for.
Yeah, don't take yourself for granted or tell yourself, well, my life is meaningless, or however, it may feel that way. It may loom large on your horizon, but you need to be reality-based. You need to say, I am the only I that I have. I'm the only me that I have, and I need to take good care of me.
And if I'm not taking good care of me, what does it mean that I am offering my best to you? I said that to James Valliant, or during my conversation with James Valliant, because the great quote from the Fountainhead came up. To say I love you, one must first be able to say the I. And the point I made at the time was, the reason why that expression, I love you, is loaded to the brim with meaning and with value, and is also extremely fraught, you better use those words carefully, is not just because love is in there, and not even just because to say I love you, you must first say the I, but all three of those words. When you say I, what is I? What is you? What are you? What is you? You is your mind, and you is your body, and that's true. But you is also your psychology. You is your history, everything you've ever been through, everything you've ever done, everything that has led you to this point, all of your memories, and beyond your memories, your imagination, and this flood of emotions, this range that you've got, and all of the things you've ever learned that are in your mind. You are massive. You are everything. And all of that is when you say, I. And love, what is that? Oh, well, you can't define that. Well, you sure as hell can. You can say, well, to love is to value, and the highest of love is the highest of your values. But think of everything you've ever loved. Everything and person you've ever loved. But wait, that barely scratches the surface. Think of everybody who has loved you. From your parents who nurtured you and got you through when you were completely helpless and dependent on somebody else, to the friends that you've had, to the relationships that you've had, but also all of the things you've ever loved, your favorite music, the most beautiful art, most delicious foods, the funnest things you've ever done. All of that is in the word love. And you, when you are talking, when I right now, sitting here in Studio One, talking to you people, sitting next to the love of my life, but you, all of you, you are who I am talking to. If you weren't there, this would not be happening. This moment wouldn't be happening. But more than that, all of the words I'm using, I am counting on. I know, I credit you, I honor you. I say, the things I say, you will understand. You will hear this. You will receive this. It will mean to you everything that I mean, plus everything within your own context, and all of that is in you. So why is I love you one of the most powerful phrases in the English language? because everything in each one of those three words is massive. And yet, all of that is in I love you.
That is very inspired, darling.
Well, you know, I love you.
I love you too.
So, my homework for the week, as we come too close to the top of the hour here.
Well, we don't have time to talk about last night?
Oh,
Real
well,
quick?
we only talked about it briefly, yeah. Well, last night was Great Lakes Objectivists
Yay!
dinner. Now, we used to do, before all hell broke loose, we used to do a monthly dinner in Casa de la Nasir, and it was a dinner meeting. It was a dinner get-together, open the front door of the home, let everybody in. Well, not everybody. Almost everybody in. And we would have a dinner
Someone's
party.
knocking at the door.
Yeah. Better let him in, except for that one guy who we had to send away. Monthly dinner party, Great Lakes Objectivists. So obviously it was objectivists, or people with a sincere interest in the ideas of Ayn Rand.
And who are polite and nice.
Yes, there were definitely standards. There are definitely standards. Yes.
There are major standards for glow.
And your goodwill is far more, I shouldn't say far more, but even more important than your intellectual interest. Yeah. Second Saturday of every month. So you always know when it's going to be. In fact, once or twice we've had people show up on the second Saturday of the month when one was canceled. And we do put the word out there, but you know, you've got your email and you've got your social networks, and sometimes things fall through the cracks. Second Saturday of every month. And then boom, March of 2020. What the hell? Oh, craziness out of our friends who aren't our friends overseas, and the whole world is suffering from this viral pandemic. And so we did things.
Yeah.
We've done a lot since March of 2020.
We have.
I've been making a list and realizing we feel like everything was shut down. And early on, we did the craziest things. We did karaoke in our backyard.
In the wintertime.
In the wintertime. We called it Sub-Zero Karaoke. Yes. And we also developed a karaoke system that we could just show up in somebody's front yard or backyard, all portable, battery rechargeable, with big PA speakers that run on batteries. And we did some of that. But we also did visits to the Detroit Institute of Arts. We spent a fair amount of time at Greenfield Village.
We did.
Great Lakes Objectivists did continue, but the monthly dinner meetings, that went by the wayside, and for good reasons. But it's been really hard to catch it up again.
It's so hard. And I mean, we did Great Lakes Objectivists back in June.
We had a glow dinner in the summer.
But
we never got back to doing the monthlies.
Yeah.
And I think this is it. I think this will be the launch.
Yeah.
Last night was the second Saturday of the month. Now, when we do Thanksgiving, we usually would do it early anyway, so that folks will have their own, family Thanksgiving or whatever they would usually do, and we don't want to conflict with that. So this was Glow Thanksgiving, second Saturday of the month, 20-pound bird, big turkey, which was almost picked clean by 15 people, almost finished a 20-pound turkey. Nobody did the drumsticks. I still got those in the fridge, but
I'll eat those.
Everything else was pretty well gone through.
Yes.
And if you think, 15 people could finish a 20-pound turkey, there was also a 15-pound ham, 10 pounds of mashed potatoes, a gallon pan full of green bean almondine. There were multiple desserts. So
stuffing.
All the stuff you want for Thanksgiving.
So good.
So yeah, Great Lakes Objectivists is in effect.
It was really lovely. The first part of it, we started right at 5, and we had all, you could eat. You could basically eat a little bit after 5 o'clock, grab a plate, grab a tray table, eat. And the first part of it, the first 3 hours, I'd say, were a little bit very casual. We did a round robin, and so everybody had a few minutes to talk about what they've been up to, what they are proud of, or what they're going through, or whatever it is. And that was really nice to get everybody focused and have one person talking. And I love doing that, by the way.
One of my personal rules of life is that you deserve to have the spotlight on you, at least now and then. And Amy's round robin is a great way to make that happen.
Yes, thank you.
Because some of us are more shy and quiet than others, and
Right.
like me. And so it's good to say, well, Joe, what's been going on in your life? What would you like to share for a few minutes here?
That's right. And then we went and got dessert. We had some pumpkin pie, an apple dump cake that somebody brought, which was really nice. Sort of kind of an apple cobbler kind of thing, but more cakey. And it was just a wonderful time. Everybody really enjoyed themselves. We had a baby over.
There was a baby
little
here,
8-month old baby, and is a very cute baby.
Not a crier.
No, I mean, he was vocal sometimes. But very, very cute baby.
No, as babies go, he was about as sweet as they get.
Yeah. So it was just a wonderful variety of things. And then some people had to leave, early, and then a bunch of people stayed around and we talked, and it was really nice. And it was just a wonderful event. And we could talk about, not just politics, but we talked about art, psychology, things that each of us are kind of going through, sort of a support group kind of thing, actually.
Yeah, I didn't hear any politics, but then I was working in the kitchen a lot.
I did mention politics.
Okay. Yeah, you must have done that while I was out of earshot. I might have been doing dishes or making whipped cream or something.
Yeah, the individual right of a woman to have an abortion and
we
reproductive rights passed in Michigan.
That's right. I remember that. We did celebrate the passing of Proposal 3 in Michigan.
Yes.
The kind of law I would never have written and never have passed, except for these particular kind of times we are in which case it was absolutely the right thing to do was to vote for it. In fact, it probably wouldn't have passed, but Amy and I both voted for it.
Yes.
And I think those two votes probably put it over the edge.
Except it passed by 56%. So that was really nice. I was very, very grateful for the people in Michigan to understand why that was a value.
They got one thing right.
Yeah.
Actually, they got two things right.
Yes.
I forget the other proposal now, but it's all good.
I think it was some restriction on term limits, I do believe. But Jim wants me to do the finger shaking again. Like this you're talking about?
I don't know. It might be the chicken neck thing. Yeah.
No, he says finger shaking.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you mean like this?
Yeah, I guess that's more the finger waving thing. I can't do that. I might not have the right bones or organs for that. Yeah, but it was a good night, and big shout out because I know some of the folks in the chat were also here. So big shout out to y'all. Thank you. And again, next time you hear about Great Lakes Objectivists, if you're anywhere near Southeast Michigan and you're thinking, maybe I should show up for one of those events, the correct answer is yes, you should. And with that said, Amy, is there anything else before I get to the last bit here?
No, I just want to thank everybody.
Good. Well, you do that. Amy is doing that in the chat.
With us. That's awesome.
Huge shout out. Just good people. We didn't even have to set a timer during the round robin.
No, everybody kind of went around.
Yeah, we've had it in the past where we had some folks who were talkers, and we would set a 5-minute timer, and after 5 minutes they would know to wind down. And that's good too, because I love it when people have more to say about themselves than time might seem to permit. My homework for the week. My homework for the week is to continue the 3 good things gratitude exercise that I'm doing in November. If you're not already following that, you need to be friends with me on Facebook. If you're not already on Facebook, consider joining just so you can see my stuff. Incidentally, I'm public, so if you go to facebook.com/Robert Nasir, you could probably see a bunch of it even if you weren't on the system. My other bit of homework for the week, what was the other thing? Oh, my morning posts on Twitter. So twitter.com/Robert Nasir, and there you don't need to be signed a member. You just need to go there. But you are still seeing every weekday, Monday through Friday, before 6 a.m., you are seeing a photograph of my clock. Actually, it's the Amazon Echo Show 5 device. And the reason is those are hard to manipulate. So you don't have to wonder, did Robert really wake up after 6 o'clock and manipulate that picture? I don't know. I'm pretty computer savvy. I probably could. But every morning you will find some inspirational aphorism, affirmation, success-oriented quote, and my thoughts on the subject too. Mm-hmm. So I'm continuing both of those And also, I am working on O-Rock.
That's right.
Now, you might wonder, what is O-Rock? Is that like O-rings? Is this some kind of seal or something? No. It's the craziest thing, because when the Harry Potter books were coming out, and especially after one or two of them, there was a real fandom. I talked earlier about fans. I love fandom. And this was people who were really, really, really into the Harry Potter universe. And folks started writing wizard rock, pop songs or rock songs in modern contemporary style, or some of them were just like folk songs, acoustic guitar, with songs about things going on in the Harry Potter universe. And some of them were directly related to the plots and stories in the books. Some of them were spun like fanciful things loosely based on them, reimaginings of things that went on. So you had this whole thing called wizard rock.
Yes.
It sounds silly. I certainly thought it was silly until you actually saw it in person, and you're like, these are like super energetic, enthusiastic, and happy young people, high energy, dancing, rocking out, having a great time with these stories, and sharing the experience with each other.
Yeah,
it was
sort
great.
Of like fan fiction through music.
Musical fan fiction.
Yeah, basically. I mean, it does. Some of the songs didn't really stray or like add to the story or anything like that, but
it ran the gamut.
But it was a lot of fun.
The bottom line was it was all fun. It was all goodwill. It was just good stuff and high energy. And I've thought ever since then, well, obviously, if people are going to do that kind of thing, what we need is O-Rock. We need objectivism rock.
Yes.
We need people to have fun with these ideas in music. Now, there are people who have done a great job putting objectivism to music. If that sounds like an exaggeration, look up the music of Robin Field, who's done great, and this is more stage, piano singing, almost Broadway. Reason and Rhyme, and so look up Robin Field, who incidentally is also the voice actor for Quentin Cordaire's novels, or look up the Fenwicks. Look up Stephen Shub, who's an amazing singer and actor.
His other band, Haskalah.
Haskalah, and he has done music based on objectivism. He's done the closest thing, I would say, to the kind of O-Rock I've got in mind, and I want more of that. So I'm working on a new song called The Reckoning.
Ooh.
You can probably imagine what that's about, but this one will be themed on characters in Atlas Shrugged, both heroes and villains. So that's going to be fun.
I want to write a song about Lillian's immaterial tiara and her beautiful old Thanksgiving shoe of abundance.
Yes. Yes, her drooling shoe, her drooling Thanksgiving cornucopia, and her non-material tiara. That would be good. That would be good.
And then I want to write a sweet song about Cheryl Brooks and how much I love her.
Well, except you can't perform it without crying.
Well, I'll just have to cry.
We'll do multiple takes and we'll stitch together the parts where you weren't crying into a whole song. Between Cheryl and Tony, that just rips me up. My Post-it note for the week says smile. That's it. It just says smile. Now, if you've been listening to my shows recently, you can probably guess that I don't just mean smile, man. You should smile a lot.
Smiles, everyone. Smiles.
Yes. No. When I look at a Post-it note that says smile, this is my reminder to manage my state. This is my reminder that when I put a smile on my face, it's not just, oh, I feel happier because I'm smiling. No, I'm managing my state. And it might not literally be smiling, because it might be more sit up straight, shoulders back, confident pose. Or it might just be open your eyes a little bit wider if you need to be a little more aware in this moment. You could do all of these things and several others, including, get your knees up, your legs together, clench those buttocks. Do all of the things you were going to do if you were already awake, but you needed to wake up twice. Oh, wow, I really wasn't that awake. Now I'm awake. So when I see a Post-it note on this one will probably be on my computer screen, but it might go on the bathroom mirror too. When I see smile, it doesn't just mean smile, although that too. That's my Post-it note for the week. I always recommend, if that would be useful to you, to just put it for 7 days, for 1 week, Write it on a Post-it note. Put it somewhere you'll see it all week. Work on that habit of managing your state, of being in conscious control of what you're doing, thinking, seeing, feeling, and the stance, the posture of your body. Then you go for it too.
Most awesome.
Yes. And as always, thank you for joining us. We ran a little long. I think it's been more than 5 minutes, which means those of you who are still in the chat and saying, oh my God, Chris McGraw says, "Oh, Rock, I dig it." See, if I could get people of like Chris's caliber of musician involved in this, that would be awesome.
Yes.
But instead, as a complete amateur, I'm going to try to do my best as well. I will also, incidentally, be trying to post more musical things online. But it got to the point where it seemed like everything I was posting was Beatles or Beatles solo, George Harrison, Paul McCartney, John Lennon, even Ringo Starr. It don't come easy, although we all know George Harrison wrote that one for him. But still, I got to work on that. Get more stuff posted that is not Beatles-related tunes. I've done a couple Elton John, but it all seems to be classic rock. You got to help me out, Amy. I want to do something more 80s.
All right.
Something a little, I mean, obviously 80s is still 40 years old, but something a little newer than the classic rock would be a good thing. Thank you to all of you who joined us, who have stuck it out until the end. I very much appreciate that. I don't know if you were enjoying it or just thinking, what a train wreck, I can't pull my eyes away. But either way, we're glad you are here.
Yes.
Looking forward to doing this again. Looking forward to celebrating Thanksgiving again. Maybe we'll do something Thanksgiving related next week, or is it the week after? I got to see how many Sundays we have before Thanksgiving. I hope you are looking forward to the remainder of this month. I'll be continuing my gratitude exercises. If you want to see 3 things every day that I'm grateful for, facebook.com/Robert Nasir. I didn't say anything about supporting the show yet. Should I do that?
Yeah, I think you should talk about supporting the show, Robert.
If you would like to support this show, if you want to make sure that these Sundays with our time together continue to happen, go to robertnasir.com, sign up to become a patron. You could give us $2 a month, $5 a month, $20 a month. Oh, look at Amy wagging the finger. Oh, that's the finger wagging. Oh, okay. I got to pull out all the classics. Did you know for the price of 1 cup of coffee, one morning you could skip that second cup of coffee at Starbucks and send $5 through patreon.com/Robert Nasir. Anyway, go to robertnasir.com. You'll find Patreon. If you want to make a single one-time contribution, you could do that too. Thank you to those of you who have done either of the above. There's a link to PayPal as well. PayPal, don't they have that bad policy about... Yeah, I know, I get it. But if you want to make a one-time contribution, there's an easy way for you to do that too. Thank you to those of you who are patrons of the show. You're the best. You keep the lights on. I just put new lights right over there to replace one of our old studio lights that was wonky. You folks made that possible. You're in our hearts for doing so. Thank you for that. And we will be back. Eventually. No, we'll be back next Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, whatever time that translates into, wherever around the world that you are, because 5 Minutes with Robert and Amy Nasir is a global phenomenon, and you are a global audience, and that makes you awesome. You are kind, and you are one of a kind. We appreciate it. We will never take you for granted, and that is why we wish you success. We wish you flourishing. We wish you the kind of kindnesses that you can both give and you so deeply deserve, so in so many ways deserve to receive. Oh, one more thing. As always, we wish